Hi friends, welcome back to Televera. Today, we're going to follow the incredible true story of a boy who grew up with a dream far bigger than his circumstances. From the small island of Madeira, Cristiano Ronaldo faced hardship, homesickness, rejection, and enormous pressure, but he refused to give up. This is not just the story of a football superstar. It's the story of how relentless determination can turn an impossible dream into reality. Let's start. Cristiano Ronaldo's story begins far away from the giant stadiums, millions of fans, and trophies that would later make his name famous around the world. He was born on February 5, 1985, in Funchal, on the Portuguese island of Madeira. His family lived a modest life, and from an early age, Ronaldo developed an extraordinary love for football. He was not born into wealth or privilege, and nobody could know that the small boy running through the streets of Madeira would one day become one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. Ronaldo's father, José Diniz Aveiro, worked as a kit man at a local football club, which gave young Cristiano an early connection to the sport. His mother, Maria Dolores, worked hard to support the family. Ronaldo grew up alongside his siblings in a home where money was limited, but his passion for football was enormous. As a child, Ronaldo was so obsessed with the game that he would spend hours playing whenever he had the opportunity. Football was not simply something he enjoyed. It became the dream that slowly began to define his life. He started playing organized football with Andorinha, the club where his father worked, and even at a very young age, coaches could see something different in him. Ronaldo was small, energetic, extremely determined, and unwilling to accept losing. His talent continued to develop, and he eventually joined Nacional, one of Madeira's better-known clubs. But Ronaldo wanted more. He understood that if he wanted to become a professional footballer at the highest level, he would eventually have to leave his island. At just 12 years old, Ronaldo made one of the hardest decisions of his young life. He moved from Madeira to mainland Portugal to join Sporting CP's youth academy in Lisbon. For a child so young, leaving his family and everything familiar behind was incredibly difficult. Lisbon was far from Madeira, and Ronaldo suddenly had to live away from his mother, siblings, friends, and the environment he knew. He was only a boy, but he understood what was at stake. If he wanted to chase his dream, sacrifice was necessary. Life at Sporting was not always easy. Ronaldo had to adapt to a completely new environment while competing against other talented young players. He was physically smaller than many of them, and his Madeira accent sometimes made him stand out. He also faced teasing from other children because of the way he spoke. Instead of allowing those experiences to stop him, Ronaldo used them as motivation. He became increasingly serious about training. He wanted to improve every part of his game. His speed, dribbling, ball control, movement, and finishing became more refined with every passing year. His determination was becoming as important as his natural talent. Then came another difficult moment. During his teenage years, Ronaldo was diagnosed with a racing heart condition. The condition could have threatened the career he had dreamed about since childhood. Sporting CP decided that he needed medical treatment, and Ronaldo underwent a procedure to correct the problem. The operation was successful, and remarkably, he returned to training soon afterward. For Ronaldo, this was another obstacle that could have changed everything. Instead, he continued moving forward. By his teenage years, his talent was becoming impossible to ignore. Ronaldo eventually became one of the youngest players to represent Sporting's senior team. He was no longer just the small boy from Madeira. He was becoming a professional footballer. But his biggest opportunity came during a friendly match between Sporting CP and Manchester United in 2003. Ronaldo was 18 years old. Manchester United's players and manager were impressed by his performance, particularly his speed, dribbling, confidence, and ability to challenge experienced defenders. The match became a turning point. The club that had produced some of the greatest footballers in England now wanted the teenager from Madeira. Ronaldo had dreamed of becoming a professional footballer, but suddenly the possibility of joining one of the biggest clubs in the world was becoming real. Manchester United signed him in 2003, and Ronaldo moved to England. He had taken another enormous step away from home, but this time the pressure was much greater. He was entering one of the most competitive football environments in the world, surrounded by established stars and playing in front of millions of supporters. Ronaldo had talent, but talent alone would not guarantee success. He would have to prove that he belonged at the highest level, and that was exactly what he intended to do. When Cristiano Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United in 2003, he was only 18 years old, but the expectations around him were already enormous. He inherited the famous number 7 shirt, a number previously worn by legendary players, and that alone created pressure. Ronaldo was talented, but he was still very young and physically needed to develop. His first seasons in England were filled with learning, mistakes, criticism, and improvement. He had incredible dribbling ability and speed, but sometimes he tried to do too much with the ball. English football was faster and more physical than what he had experienced in Portugal. Ronaldo had to learn how to handle stronger defenders, greater pressure, and constant attention from the media. Instead of becoming discouraged, he became obsessed with improving. He spent extra time training, working on his strength, shooting, movement, and finishing. Slowly, the flashy teenager began turning into a complete footballer. One of the biggest turning points came during the 2006 World Cup. Ronaldo was already playing for Portugal, but his reputation was growing rapidly. His performances and personality attracted enormous attention, and his rivalry with English fans became part of the story after his involvement in Wayne Rooney's dismissal during Portugal's match against England. Ronaldo returned to Manchester United facing criticism from some supporters, but he did not allow the controversy to destroy his confidence. Instead, he used it as motivation. The following season, he produced the best football of his young career. Ronaldo began scoring more goals, creating chances, and influencing matches in ways that went far beyond simple dribbling. He was becoming more powerful, more intelligent, and more dangerous in front of goal. In the 2006-07 season, Manchester United won the Premier League, and Ronaldo became one of the team's most important players. But he was only getting started. In the 2007-08 season, Ronaldo reached another level. He scored goals with his feet, his head, from long distance, and from set pieces. His physical transformation was also becoming obvious. The skinny teenager who had arrived from Madeira was turning into a powerful athlete. His work ethic became one of the most important parts of his identity. He wanted to become better every day, even after successful performances. His effort was rewarded when Manchester United won the Premier League again and then reached the UEFA Champions League final in Moscow. In the final against Chelsea, Ronaldo scored Manchester United's goal during the match. The game eventually went to a penalty shootout, where Manchester United won the trophy. Ronaldo had become a European champion. Later that year, he received the Ballon d'Or, becoming the world's top men's player according to the award. For the young boy who had left Madeira at 12 years old, the achievement was almost impossible to imagine. But Ronaldo's story was not simply about trophies. Behind the success was an intense personal drive. He had always believed that he could reach the highest level, even when circumstances suggested otherwise. His rise also created a new challenge. The bigger his reputation became, the more people expected from him. Every match was analyzed. Every mistake became news. Every goal increased the pressure. Ronaldo learned to live with that attention. Then, in 2009, one of the biggest transfers in football history took place. Real Madrid signed Cristiano Ronaldo from Manchester United for a then world record transfer fee. He moved to Spain with enormous expectations. Real Madrid was one of the most famous clubs in the world, and Ronaldo was expected to become the face of the team. The pressure was immense, but Ronaldo embraced it. His first years in Madrid were filled with extraordinary goal-scoring numbers. He developed an intense rivalry with Lionel Messi, and their competition became one of the defining stories of modern football. Every season brought new debates about who was the better player. Ronaldo responded on the pitch. He continued scoring at an extraordinary rate and repeatedly broke records. But his time at Real Madrid was not always easy. The club experienced changes in managers, injuries, difficult matches, and periods when trophies seemed out of reach. Ronaldo faced criticism whenever the team failed, but he continued working. In 2014, he helped Real Madrid win the Champions League again, scoring a remarkable number of goals during the competition. The victory was especially important because Real Madrid had been waiting many years for another European title. Ronaldo's individual success continued as well. He won additional Ballon d'Or awards and became one of the greatest goal scorers in football history. Yet perhaps his greatest period at Real Madrid came between 2016 and 2018. Real Madrid won the Champions League 3 consecutive times, an achievement that demonstrated the team's dominance in European football. Ronaldo was central to those victories. In the 2016 final, Real Madrid defeated Atletico Madrid on penalties. Later, Ronaldo helped Portugal achieve something extraordinary at international level. During Euro 2016, Portugal reached the final against France. Ronaldo was injured and forced to leave the field early in the match, but he continued encouraging his teammates from the sidelines. Portugal eventually won the European Championship for the first time in its history. For Ronaldo, lifting that trophy with his country was one of the most emotional achievements of his career. He had already won almost everything at club level, but international success had always been one of the biggest goals of his life. The boy from Madeira had now become the leader of his national team. But even after reaching the top, Ronaldo was not satisfied. He continued pushing himself, and another major chapter of his story was approaching. After achieving almost everything possible with Real Madrid, Cristiano Ronaldo entered another important chapter of his life. In 2018, after 9 extraordinary years in Spain, he left Real Madrid and joined Juventus in Italy. The transfer shocked football fans around the world. Ronaldo was moving to another major European league at the age of 33, an age when many players were already approaching the final stage of their careers. But Ronaldo saw it differently. He wanted another challenge. He wanted to prove that he could succeed in another country and another league. At Juventus, the expectations were enormous. He continued scoring goals and helped the club win domestic trophies. Even as he became older, he remained one of the most physically prepared players in football. His training routine, discipline, recovery, and determination became famous. But football had also brought difficult moments. Injuries, criticism, defeats, and the pressure of constantly being compared with other great players never disappeared. Ronaldo continued to deal with them by focusing on his performance. In 2021, Another major chapter began when Ronaldo returned to Manchester United. The return created enormous excitement among fans who remembered the young Portuguese winger who had become a global superstar at the club. His first months back included important goals and emotional moments, but the situation eventually became difficult. Manchester United struggled for consistency, and Ronaldo's relationship with the club became increasingly complicated. In 2022, he left Manchester United for the second time. For many players, such a difficult period might have marked the beginning of the end. For Ronaldo, it became another turning point. He moved to Saudi Arabia and joined Al Nassr at the end of 2022. The decision was historic because it helped bring enormous international attention to Saudi football. Some critics questioned the move, believing that Ronaldo was leaving the highest level of European football. But Ronaldo continued to play, score, and compete. He remained determined to perform at the highest possible level. His story also continued with Portugal. Ronaldo had already won the European Championship, but he continued representing his country and breaking international scoring records. He became one of the most prolific international goalscorers in football history. His longevity was extraordinary. While many footballers from his generation had retired, Ronaldo continued playing professionally and competing with younger athletes. What makes his journey especially remarkable is not simply the number of goals or trophies. It is the transformation that happened along the way. The boy from Madeira who once left his family at the age of 12 had become a global sports icon. He had experienced homesickness, criticism, pressure, injuries, disappointment, and moments when people questioned whether he could continue. Yet he repeatedly found a way to move forward. Ronaldo's relationship with failure is one of the most important parts of his story. Losing a match did not mean the journey was over. Missing a chance did not mean he stopped trying. A difficult season did not erase his ambition. Instead, he treated setbacks as reasons to work harder. His career also changed dramatically as he aged. In his younger years, Ronaldo was known primarily for explosive speed, dribbling, and spectacular movement. As he became older, he adapted his style. He became more focused on positioning, finishing, movement inside the penalty area, and using his experience. This ability to adapt allowed him to remain effective long after many players had declined. Off the field, Ronaldo also became a father and built a large family. Family became an important part of his life, and he often spoke about the importance of his children and the people closest to him. His journey was no longer simply about football. It had become a story about responsibility, personal ambition, family, and legacy. There were also moments of profound personal hardship. Ronaldo experienced the loss of a child in 2022, a deeply painful event that he and his family had to face publicly. Despite his personal grief, he continued his professional career while dealing with the emotional weight of the tragedy. His life showed that even people who appear incredibly successful can experience pain that success cannot remove. Through all these chapters, Ronaldo remained one of the most followed athletes in the world. His name became larger than football itself. Children around the world copied his celebration, wore his shirts, and dreamed of becoming footballers because they had watched him play. His career became an example of how talent can be transformed through discipline and relentless effort. But Ronaldo's story should not be understood as a simple tale in which talent automatically creates success. Many talented players never reach the highest level. Ronaldo's journey was shaped by thousands of hours of training, difficult decisions, lessons, sacrifices, and the ability to continue after disappointment. His story began with a child from Madeira who had almost nothing except a dream. He left home while still very young because he believed that his future required sacrifice. He faced criticism in Portugal and England. He became a star at Manchester United. He reached extraordinary heights at Real Madrid. He won trophies with Juventus and represented Portugal through different generations. He returned to Manchester United, experienced another difficult chapter, and then started a new phase in Saudi Arabia. Through every change, one thing remained the same: his desire to compete. Today, Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy is already enormous, but his story is unusual because it is still being written. The boy who once dreamed of becoming a professional footballer became one of the most successful footballers the world has ever seen. His journey reminds us that the distance between an ordinary beginning and an extraordinary future can be enormous, but it can also be crossed one step at a time. Cristiano Ronaldo did not begin his life as a global superstar. He began as a child with a dream, living far from the spotlight, who decided that he would give everything he had to see how far the dream could take him. And perhaps that is the most powerful part of his story. Not the trophies, not the records, not the fame, but the journey from a small island in Madeira to the biggest stages in world football, and the determination that kept him moving forward every time life became difficult.